right, so here we are with one-room schoolhouses. Let's talk about what's working. And it's my pleasure to gather some panelists today who work in one-room schoolhouse settings across the state. And I'll introduce them just briefly, and then they'll have a chance to talk about several different topics today. And then we'll have a chance to have some large group discussion and possibly some small group discussion if that's what the group wants. And we've zoomed in on a few different kind of larger threads that we can pull and think about together. And then we're really excited to hear about very different contexts for teaching and learning in one-room schoolhouses here. So again, I'm Patsy. I work at Hamline University with Atlas, and it's great to have Matt here from Moorhead. I'll just let you wave so people know who you are, Matt. There's Matt. And Gina is with us from Detroit Lakes, and Elizabeth, who teaches in a couple places, including Burnsville. And the questions that we posed to the group were around communication, because teaching in a one-room schoolhouse is such an odd and this eclectic and dynamic setting. How do you keep in touch with staff, among yourselves, with students, because they are mobile and sometimes you are moving to them across various sites and sometimes across vast geographic distances, sometimes in Gina's case in particular among these three. And then how do you build community among staff, between staff and students, among students? And then also, how do you keep students coming? So student retention, and then some other topics as well came up as we were talking together and thinking about this session. So those were kind of the big things that we started thinking about together. And then I just posed those questions to the panelists and let them think about those. And they came back with all sorts of great ideas that they'll share with us this afternoon. So we're actually going to start up in Moorhead. So I will let Matt take it away.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Like you said, my name is Matt. I am a teacher up here in Moorhead Adult Ed, and I just threw this on the map just to kind of give everyone an idea of kind of where we are located and what we look like up here. So we are located right on the border of North Dakota and Minnesota. Um, our program, not necessarily our program, my classroom, our classroom serves ABE levels 2 through 6. Our program serves ESL levels 1 through 6 and ABE levels 1 through 6. So kind of that whole gamut there. But the classroom that I teach in, we are the ABE levels 2 through 6. Our program is a community ed program through the Moorhead Area Public Schools. So unlike some programs, we are connected to our local school district. I know some across the state are not. And so there's some unique things that come along with that. We are a border community, which also has some unique things we are not dealing with, but we bump up against some differences in the way things are done over in North Dakota. And so we are constantly having to be aware of those and to kind of play with those a little bit. Moorhead is on the border. So right across the river from us is Fargo and West Fargo, two cities that Moorhead joins with in a lot of ways. And really, this area functions as kind of a larger metro area. Moorhead itself, as you can see on the slide there, has a population of about 45,000. However, in the Moorhead, Fargo, West Fargo metro area, the population is closer to around 210,000. So it's has some of the things that go along with a larger city as opposed to a smaller town, but we kind of get a little of both of that. All right. You want to go to the next slide, please? Okay. This one, who are our students? I just pulled these right from Sid. In our classroom, we have an age range or a breakdown anyway, where the largest group is that 25 to 44 years old. But we have many students who are quite a bit younger, and actually quite a few that are significantly older than that. But that is definitely our kind of core area is that 22 to 40 or 25 to 44. If we break it down in terms of race and ethnicity, it's a pretty even split, I would say. As you can see on the graph there, we have, especially between the white and the Black or African American, they're almost equal in our classroom, and then we have the others, as you can see. So it's a very wide variety of students that we're seeing, both in age and race and ethnicity. Total in our classroom, we have students representing about 17 countries. So we're getting a lot of diversity in our classroom, considering some of the more central northern Minnesota isn't quite as diverse as we end up being. And I think a lot of that has to do with the the larger population base that the Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo area holds. All right, if you want to move to the next slide, just a little bit more information about my classroom in particular. I think it's important before I go into how we have everything structured, I think it's important to understand what we're doing in our classroom and who our students are. So we have kind of a wide variety, as we saw in the last slide, but we have advanced ELL students. Some of those students are coming to us simply for language skills, to improve those language skills. Other advanced ELL students have been working on those skills, have worked through our program, and are now coming to us and are seeking some sort of a high school equivalency credential. Um, Along with that, we have our native English speakers who are often also seeking a high school equivalency credential. On top of that, we do have a significant amount of students who are mandated through kind of a wide variety of different programs. They could be through community assistance programs, some of the county or workforce assistance programs often will mandate their students who are receiving their services to come to school for any any designated number of hours per week or per month. On top of that, the housing workforce development programs that they're participating in often will mandate those students. We have a partnership with the local workman's comp program, so they will, especially if they have a student who is no longer going to be able to go into the line of work that they were working in. They may need to skill up with us and then go on to some additional work training in a new area. Um, on top of that, we have high school diploma or HSE credential holders who are coming to us to skill up. Often these students are coming to us. They may be looking for a completely different change. And they've been out of school for a while. They may have completed, but it's been a while, and they're afraid that if they just jump right into some sort of a college or work training program, that it may be a little too much to tackle. So they want to come skill up a little bit before they enter those programs. And then within our program, we have a partnership with our local juvenile detention center and our local jail. I am not the teacher that works with the jail. That is another one of our teachers who goes over there, and about 4 days a week is in the mornings is there providing instruction to those learners. I myself work with the juvenile detention center, and it's a fairly select group of students who I get to work with. Our local school district, the high school, actually does have a presence at the juvenile detention center. Um, so the students I work with have been kind of hand selected as usually a little bit higher academic level than the rest of the students in the class, and are probably a better candidate for quickly achieving some sort of a high school equivalency completion uh, certification. So I work with them to kind of lead them through that process quickly, and then off we go. So we have a lot of variety in our classroom. Um, some of them aren't necessarily coming into our classroom, but working with a lot of different students. All right, we could go to the next slide there. In terms of our classroom and how we function, we've tried a lot of things, and one of the things that we've really come to settle on is um, structuring our classroom in a almost an independent study format, where the students come in and they're they're working on their own student plan. When they start with us, we set up an individual student plan or educational plan, and primarily they're working in that kind of individual format. That allows us the freedom to um, to kind of touch base with each of those students any day. It They may not miss out on stuff if they have to be gone for a day, a week. That we really struggled when we had more of a formal classroom setting. When we tried that, our attendance was just so all over the place that it was really hard to work much coherence into our instruction when people were showing up, then not, then coming back, and then disappearing again. So we've kind of landed on this individual format as being a good base that we can build off of. Okay. When I say build off of that, we use that as our base, but then we also will have pull out classes. If we have students who are, kind of a core group who are coming regularly and are expressing an interest in a certain subject, or they're all kind of at a similar academic level, or and sometimes they're not even at the same academic level, but they're wanting to work on a certain subject. We may pull out those students and kind of set up a maybe 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning. This is happening, and then they know, and they'll come and they'll show up, and we've had some pretty good success with that over the years. In addition to that, we have set up some recurring smaller group, kind of small reading groups and things like that to work those things in, so that they're not just working individually the entire time that they're with us. Um, and this kind of leads right into this slide here, where what do we do to facilitate some community building within our classroom? Because I think it's important to, as you'll see in further slides, when we get to the retention piece, if we're not building a community within our classroom, um, it's going to be a lot easier to lose those students. They're going to they're going to probably be disappearing on us a little faster. So we have done some intentional things around community building, internally within our program and within our classroom. We do small group work. We try and work that in so that the students have some connections to some of those other classmates, other than just kind of the more low level, hi, how are you doing? But this way they get to work in a small group and get to know each other a little more. Um, on top of that, we have established a kind of a student break room. We call it our library because there are some bookshelves in there, and have we open those up to the students. They can take, if they find a book on there they want to take home and read, they can take it home and read it. And we just kind of ask that they bring it back, but it's there. These pictures are actually from that room, and you can see there's kind of different areas within that room that they can go to. And this, we have some break times throughout the day where they can go, and that room often fills up during those. But they also know that at any time, those who are working individually, if they just need to take a break, this is a place where they can go. And there may be some other students in there. They can kind of just blow off some steam if they need to, relax. You can see there is a table there with some puzzles on it. Just the other day, I walked in there and there was like three students all working on a puzzle together during one of our break times. So it's kind of a fun area that's not very structured, but the students are allowed to kind of relax a little bit and be themselves. Almost every Wednesday, we have an art class that comes in. We have a local retired art teacher, elementary art teacher, who volunteers with our program. And almost every Wednesday, she comes in and for about an hour and a half leads an art class for anyone who wants to participate. We open this class up to not only the students in our classroom, but all the students in the program, from the low level ELL students all the way up to those who are potentially ready to take a GED test. Anyone who wants to do art that day can go in that class and do that art. And it's really fun to pop in there and see the all the students interacting, talking about art. Some have never done art before until they walk in that classroom, and they seem to really enjoy it. And there's a lot of good student bonding that happens in that classroom. They're talking about their own things and sharing and looking at each other's and commenting, and there's a lot of good kind of program wide bonding that takes place in that classroom. On top of all of those other things, we do every year at the end, or sorry, the kind of middle of June, we will have an achievement ceremony where we invite all of our students who have been active over the past year. Um, we invite them to come to this ceremony, and we hand out awards for any achievements that anyone has made throughout that past year. And we will set up a bunch of categories, um, and and give out some awards and really celebrate their achievements, and give them a chance to see what their other classmates are working on and working toward and doing, and allow them the opportunity to celebrate each other as well. Um, Externally, within the community, we have a lot of community volunteers who come in and help within our program, and that helps to open these students up and have some connections to those in our greater community. On top of that, we collaborate with our local colleges. We are quite blessed to live in a community that has, um, depending on how you look at it, we have about 5 different colleges that have a presence in our community. It, especially the larger community, including Fargo and West Fargo. There are quite a few opportunities, and we have established some working relationships with some of those professors, and they will work it into some of their curriculum at times, or they're not their curriculum, but their plan over a semester to have or require students to volunteer in our program for 5 hours a semester or something like that. We've done some really neat collaborations where we have worked with a class at Concordia College, where they met with our students. They would come 1 or 2 times a week during their class period. It was usually one day a week over a semester. During their normal class period, they would come to our classroom, and we would match everyone up with some of our students. And they worked on writing a poem, and it was a poem about themselves. And then through Concordia, we were able to get that get all those collected and made into and published into a book. And so the students were able to see their poem that they worked on about themselves, as well as the students, the college students that they worked with, and they're getting to know these students on a little bit deeper level. And these are students that they're going to bump into, or they potentially could bump into, just out in the community, at the grocery store, or anything like that. So um, those are some really fun activities and things that we have done to really try and build community um, for our students and with our students. All right, can we go to the next slide there? There. Communication. As Patsy mentioned, communication within, especially within our setting, can be difficult at times. We have day classes happening, we have evening classes happening. Um, Within that alone, trying to communicate, we have students who are coming whenever they can. They have busy lives outside of school, and sometimes it works better for them to, hey, this week I can't go in during the day, but I can pop in on Tuesday evening. So they'll do that. So we really need to have and put in place some communication strategies that that work even just between the teachers, but also between the students. And we really have worked at trying to figure out how that can work. And what we came up with, and it is not fancy, it's very old school, but each student has their own student work folder. When they come in, since they are working individually when they first arrive, they're sitting down and they're working, they have their folder, and each folder has a bunch of, this picture right here is just an example of an activity log that we keep in each student's folder for each subject that they have. And it is a place where we can write out their individual plan, what they're working on, when it was, if they're working on something that was printed, when it was printed or assigned, and then when it was completed, and what needs to be worked on next. Usually what we will do is map out if they're going to be working through several units, or over the next couple months, we're going to write that plan out on that sheet, and then everyone knows, the teachers and the students all know what that particular person is working on, and what the next steps are. Those are written out, but they're not set in stone. We can alter those at any time, any one of us. No one owns this, and we really want to keep that communication open between, not only between the teachers, but between the teachers and the students as well. So it's, like I said, it's not fancy, but it's one of the ways that we have developed to just keep everyone kind of on the same page, if you will. One of the other things that we often use, especially for those students who are working on distance learning platforms, whether they are an in-person student who is doing additional work on a distance learning platform, or whether they are a student who has identified as wanting online only, or distance learning only, we'll use the messaging options within those platforms, because it keeps the communication a lot closer to where they're working and what they're working on. So we try and utilize those anytime those are available. We use those. Otherwise, we often revert to email for a lot of communication between teacher and student, or teacher and teacher. Um, on top of the activity logs, um, the teachers, the day teachers and the evening teachers, were constantly sending email updates about students. If someone who had kind of disappeared for a while suddenly comes back after 6, 8, 9 months, and they got started again, we'll send an email out to kind of within our little teacher group, just updating everyone so that they're, hey, you know, this person, now everyone knows this person popped in, they got going, and we kind of reevaluated where they are, where their goals are, and where their testing is, and it's it's all about just trying to keep everyone on the same page. So we we tried to do as much of that, but it definitely is something that you have to work at and focus on, and be very deliberate about. Otherwise, it can easily kind of fall off. So that is how we in our classroom deal with communication between teachers and students, and also between the teachers and the other teachers. Um, I think we can move to the next slide then. Student retention. This is something that I think every program deals with, and I'm not going to say that we have um, figured it out because we definitely have not. We still deal with this every day. Students who are working away and then suddenly they disappear and we can't figure out why. Um, and really we really try to keep in mind that our students are all adults. They have very busy, complicated lives, and sometimes we can't be their priority, and we aren't their priority, and often we're not. But we just do everything we can to make their experience with us a positive experience, so that when things settle down in their lives and they maybe are in a better place to come back to us, that they will. Those community building activities and things that we have built into our program and our classroom are some of the reasons that those students, we hope, will come back to us. Um, Also, the individualized learning plans. We are we really try to make sure that everyone feels like they have their own personal learning plan and that they have a say in that plan. That they are not just coming in and being told what to do, but that it aligns with their goals, um, so that they are a little more likely to stay with us and keep working toward those goals. And if they do have to step away for a period of time, that they know they can come back to us, and we will continue to help them toward achieving those goals. Another thing that we have that we feel helps in retaining our students is the on-site HSE testing that we offer. We are a testing site for GED and HiSET, so I think that is it. It's not the answer to everything because that isn't all of our students' goal, but for those that it is, um, I think that's a thing. They know they can come, they can get their instruction, they can work through and toward that goal, and then when it comes to the actual official testing, um, which often brings a little anxiety with it, they know that they're going to be in a familiar place, and there's going to be some familiar faces around when it comes to that testing day. We will do periodic check-ins with the students, follow-up communications, especially if a student suddenly disappears on us. We'll be sending some communications through email, phone calls, um, trying to just find out what's going on, see if everything is okay, um, and then just letting them know that if they have to if they have to step away for a while, that's okay, and we understand. And just letting them know that we're here when things settle down and they can come back and they're ready, that we're here and waiting for them. The periodic check-ins also we line those up with a lot of their testing. So as soon the TABE testing, as soon as they're done um, with updating some post or sorry, as soon as they're done post testing, we often will, or not often, we will sit down with them. We'll go over their scores and we'll bring their goal setting into that conversation and see if we need to adjust any goal setting and really make them part of that process. And I think that open communication is something that um, is a reason that those who do stay with us, that's one of the reasons why. Another thing that helps keep students around is the variety of options that we offer in terms of in-person learning, online learning, distance learning, daytime classes, and evening classes. We really stress to the students that we are trying to be as flexible as possible for them, that we understand they have busy, crazy lives sometimes, and that's okay, and that we're here and we're going to work with them any way that we can and be as flexible as we can to help them achieve their goals. So I think that is my last slide.
It
Yes.
is. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Matt. I really appreciate it. So many good ideas. If people have questions for Matt, go ahead and put them in the chat box, although we might wait and hold them until the end when everyone has had a chance to speak. So much wisdom coming out of Moorhead. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We are going to move to Gina, who joins us from the Detroit Lakes area. You might have to explain where that is for folks who may not be from the area. And then, yeah, go ahead. We'll let you take it away here.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Gina and I work out of the Detroit Lakes area adult basic education. We are also a community ed sponsored program. Detroit Lakes is about 50 miles west of Moorhead. No, east of Moorhead. Sorry about that. So we're right about on the map where Matt is, just a little bit further east. I'm a teacher at the program and I teach all areas of adult basic ed. I taught high school FACS for 34 years, which I think was a really good preparation for this because as a FACS teacher, you get a little bit of everything. You have students at all levels and so many subjects. So although it's very different, I can apply a lot of the same principles. And I've been at ABE now for 15 months. So I finally feel like I'm actually learning all the ropes and doing what I'm supposed to be doing here. But every day is a new situation and every day is a learning situation for me as well as my students. I have a unique situation. I work in 4 sites. I work 3 days a week and they're all one-room schoolhouse settings and they all have varied levels from 1 to 6. Can change to the next slide, please. Okay, probably my most unique and unusual site is the Riverview Dairy. The walk-on site, which is out in the country near Gary, Minnesota, which is just a very small town in northwestern Minnesota. They have 48 workers that are directly from Mexico. The unique thing about this is that all of the workers have college educations in agricultural fields like veterinary science, agronomy, ag engineering. So they're very intelligent people, highly educated. They just don't know how to speak English. So they started coming to our Twin Valley class and we ended up offering this class at the dairy to accommodate their work schedules. They work 12-hour shifts and a lot of them will work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then come to English class. So that shows their dedication and how much they really want to learn. We've also had, being it is open to the community, we've also had some Ukrainian agricultural workers who live in the community also attend. We meet in a conference room, and what you can see in the slide is the carousel. That's a parlor, which 300 cows are on at one time. It circulates around and the cows get on, and when they go all the way around, they've been milked and they go off. And it's just a nonstop 24-hour day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. It never stops. So these guys work really hard and they're very interesting and they have a lot of interesting things to tell me about. And as you can see in the photo there, they're hard at work and they come just ready to go. And our volunteer there provides food because a lot of them are coming right from work. So That is my first site. And one other thing about them is that they're very varied levels of English. Some speak zero English when they come here, and some have very fluent. So that definitely is a one-room schoolhouse trying to meet all those needs. Okay, you can go to the next slide. The second site I have is at Norman County East School in Twin Valley, which is probably about 10 miles from the dairy. And in this site, it's mainly the wives. Some of the men have wives over here, not all of them, but some of them do. So their wives also vary from zero English to very high level English. So we also get other people that come into that class from the community. I've had Iraqi and Ukrainian people. I also hold GED there. So the GED class starts at 9 and I work with those people, and then they can stay during the ESL class and work individually if they so choose and work independently. The GED students are all English speaking people from the community. Okay, and in this slide, you can see the women, and then you can see some of the stuff that I put on the board. And then in the other one is actually taken at the dairy, but a lot of those men will attend both the Twin Valley class and the dairy class, and some of them come twice in one day. Okay, you can advance. My third site is at Ada Borup West School in Ada, Minnesota, and I have a GED class there from 1 to 3 p.m. on Tuesdays, mainly English speakers from the community. ESL is offered as needed. For example, I did have a Vietnamese speaker who needed tutoring for the SurfSafe exam. So I worked with her, and we're open for any ESL, anybody that needs services. Attendance really varies, very small groups. We're just kind of getting going in that community, but we'll modify things as necessary. And then my fourth site is at M State in Detroit Lakes. We have an open lab setting, and I work on Wednesdays and Thursdays, but our classroom is open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 3 with different staff. And listed underneath of that are all the services that we provide, pretty much the same as any other ABE program. Our attendance is very varied, from anywhere from 2 to 15 students sometimes per day. They're all working independently, and they're all working on multiple subjects in the open lab situation. So our challenge is to work with each student as needed, giving help, feedback, teaching small lessons, building confidence, testing, anything we need to do. We just have to try to spread ourselves as best we can and try to help everybody's needs. It's a multi-age, multi-level, multicultural, multi-subject learners all at one time. So it is very interesting. And that picture there is a picture I took one day last week on my desk that I sent to my husband, just showing all the different subjects that we had dealt with in that one day, plus testing and orientation and other things. So it's always busy. The days go really fast. If you want to go to the next slide, being we have so much going on and we have different staff working here in Detroit Lakes, communication is key for us. So some of the methods that we've used are updating SID daily with detailed information. And in the graphic, you can see a sample of like what some of our logs might look like. It's really important that we say what they worked on, like specific pages, specific skills, what they struggled with, what they need more of. And if you can, it's really helpful to give an idea of what they're gonna be doing next. So the next person that comes in can pull up their SID and see what they did and where they need to go from that. We also make comments about student mood, if they weren't feeling well, if they're having personal issues, all those kinds of things, just all the information that we need to know. It's really, really helpful. We also have bins for each student, similar to in Moorhead, they have the folders. We have a bin for all their materials, and we keep everything for that student in that bin. And then when they come in, if we're busy with someone else, they can take their bin and get started. See what they need to do until we have time to come over and work with them. It's really helpful if you can prep materials ahead of time. So like if you know they need extra work in division photocopy that stuff off, put a Post-it note on it, put it in their bin. We keep in contact through those methods. We also have individual personal education plans for all students. After they go through our orientation, we meet with them and together we write up their PEP, and that's available at all times. It's in their basket, it's in SID, it's in our drive, so we can look at it, and so can the student. So that's where we get our direction as to how we should proceed, or if they want to work on a different subject, pull out the PEP and see what else they could be doing. Sticky notes are our friends. We use them for everything. Just reminders of don't forget to do this, please do this, please give this to this person, call this person. We communicate a lot through sticky notes as well as email, but sometimes the sticky notes are more easily noticed than the emails are. We do have GED and adult diploma students go through an orientation session. We offer these twice a month, and a student has to go through the orientation in order to be fully enrolled. And we like that because we can give them all the same expectations, the same information. We do some assessments of their digital literacy skills, their writing skills. We like to have their TABES done prior to that, so we kind of have a view already of what their reading level is and their math level, overall ABE levels, all that kind of thing. But we found that to be very helpful, and it's also a chance to talk and get to know the students. Sometimes we'll have 2 students, sometimes we'll have 6. You know, it's just a very variable amount, but we find that that's working really well for us. And of course, we communicate all the time with students and each other through emails, phone calls, texting. The WhatsApp is used. Any technology that we can find to help us out is greatly used. Okay, next slide. When it comes to building community, I actually ended up with 2 slides for this because I think that's probably one of the big focuses that we have. And I think it can all be summed up with my first bullet point there: relationships, relationships, relationships. You have to have relationships with students. They have to feel comfortable, confident. They have to feel you care. So we work really hard to make sure that they do. Every student's different. As I said, we have multicultural, multi-level, multi-age, everything, multi-backgrounds. So we do what we can to help each and every student to feel successful. We have great community partnerships and connections with different agencies throughout our community. Mahubi Atwa is a agency that works with low-income people. They have all kinds of programs. Our Workforce Center, Head Start, Lakes Area Crisis Center. We have an interagency council that meets monthly, so all these agencies can communicate. The local Chamber of Commerce, Public Health, Public Library, the Churches United Way. All those are ways that we can reach out for help when we need it, and we can direct our students to what they need, whether that be daycare, help making a doctor appointment, transportation, tokens for bus, guidance in finding a part-time job. We utilize all those agencies and really try to get everybody the help that they need. I already talked about our orientation day. That is a good way for us to get to know what those students' individual needs are and get to know what they struggled with, what their current struggles are, what they feel their strengths are, what their goals are, short-term, long-term. Goal setting is also really important. So we make good use of that orientation day and follow that up with the individual meeting to develop their personal education plan with their needs and goals, which everything in the PLPs are aligned with the standards. And these are just some pictures of accomplishments and fun things we've had going on. Can switch to the next slide, please. Goal setting, as I said, is huge, very important. We talk to students all the time about goals, get them to write them as much as possible, put them in writing, come up with plans, lots of progress checks, lots of modifications. Again, like Matt mentioned, a lot of times a student might be coming really faithfully and then they might disappear. So we always try to get a hold of them, let them know that they're welcome to come back at any time. If there's any issues they're having that we can help them with, to please let us know. And it's a constant work in progress. We've had a holiday potluck. There's a picture on this page from that. We had some excellent food from Thailand and Vietnam and some American traditions. It's a good chance for the students to get to know each other, maybe bring some family in, visit with us at a different social type of setting. We hope to do more of that kind of thing in the future. The dairy has a lot of social events to try to make the community more aware of the people that are here and that they want to be active in the community and they want to learn English and they want to participate and try to get their name out as much as they can. They do parades, they have holiday events, just about any kind of social event that can get people together and trying to feel more comfortable in the community. Cooperative learning is very important. A lot of times when we're really busy, another student will jump in and help someone else, which is great to see. They're really pretty good about being patient and waiting for us. But if they can help somebody else, we all know that that just helps you learn it better if you can teach it to somebody else. So we use those methods as much as we can too. One challenge that we have with this one-room schoolhouse is that the ESL students need to do more oral work, which can be disruptive to the other learners. So one way we've tried to remedy that is we utilize volunteers. If they can take a small group to another place, if they can meet at a separate time, anything that they can do to work individually or in small groups with those ESL students who need more of the oral practice. In this slide, you can also see a picture from a graduation ceremony. Also, similarly to what Matt mentioned, we have an achievement/graduation ceremony at the end of the year to recognize the accomplishments that students have made, and they get to wear caps and gowns, bring friends and family, and celebrate that accomplishment, which many of them feel like they've missed out on. So that's very important to them as well. Okay, next. The last topic was retention. And I would say everything Matt said, I could go right along with that. Regular check-ins, especially if you haven't seen them for a while, making sure the students feel that it's a comfortable, safe, caring environment and that we're here to help them. And it all goes back to Maslow's pyramid of basic needs. Their basic needs have to be met first. So if we can do anything to help with that through those community agencies, we definitely will be on that. Contacting students we haven't seen lately, the PEP with end goals and checkpoints, and constantly developing relationships. So I think that pretty much sums it up for our program. One thing I also wanted to mention is we too have a component with the Becker County Jail. I don't work with that, but we do have teachers that do go into the jail and work with that, as well as several other sites in other communities, Perham, Frazee, Rothsay, New York Mills. So we're actually all over the place in this area.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, we've gotten some comments that your site is relatable, so I appreciate all of your comments. All right, from Moorhead to the dairy farm to the suburbs. Elizabeth, take us away. Go ahead. Let me get to your next slide here. Go ahead.
Hi. So yes, I am a teacher at the ISD 191 Burnsville School for Adults. We are not exactly a one-room schoolhouse. We do have leveled classes, primarily ESL and GED, offered in the morning, afternoon, and evening. But my online ESL class that I teach at night is explicitly a multi-level class, levels 1 through 4, and then another teacher teaches online levels 5 and up. And then, of course, you know, students are placed in ESL classes, but it's at our school anyway, we only test reading. So placement is only based on reading skills, which don't necessarily correlate to speaking and the other modalities. So you're going to have multi-level in even like a leveled class. And also I do math in both my morning class and my evening class. And the math is open to everyone, and most students don't even have a math score. And we have everything from people who want to get their GED and need that level of math, down to students who didn't really have the opportunity to ever take a formal math class. So I'm definitely doing a lot of different things at a lot of different levels, even though supposedly I teach level 4. We can go on to the next slide. I want to really give a shout out to the Atlas Anti-Racist Praxis Study Circle. I was really fortunate to be able to do this a couple years ago, and I think that experience and this book really has improved my teaching practice, made me a better teacher. I really wish I had had that experience earlier in my career. um, I I have really like changed how I think about what is important and what priorities I need to set in the classroom. I used to be, I very, very focused on academic content. I think a lot of us go into teaching because, I love to read, I love writing, I love math. And we were successful students ourselves. And that's not, that's not always like that's not necessarily my students' primary need. Like Gina mentioned, that hierarchy of needs. If people need to feel like they're in a safe space, they are welcome, they belong. And I think in the past, maybe I have not been quite as warm as I could have, or I've just been really too worried about like, we have to accomplish these academic objectives and I don't have time for anything else. But now my thinking has shifted, and I am a lot more intentional about really like making the time for community building. We have semi-managed enrollment, so we have a new student day typically every 2 weeks. And so every 2 weeks, I make sure to do some sort of activity where my students like get to know the new students, get to know each other's names, because that's really important. You can go on to the next slide. Yeah, so one of the activities I do, I've heard this called a mingle. I've heard this called give one, get one, where students are walking around and talking with each other and sharing ideas. And you can see in this dialogue, we're in our health unit right now, so we're practicing some grammar and vocabulary related to health. But also there are blank spaces because I want them to introduce themselves and practice saying each other's names. So like we have that, floor of at least we know each other's names. We can greet each other. We can notice when someone is missing and ask them how they're doing when they come back. I also have my students write down the name. So that's what those boxes are for, of each person that they talk to. So they're learning not only how to say the name, but also how to write it. They're getting some spelling review. I really like this activity because you can make it as easy or as difficult as you want. I think even for people who are first language English speakers, you could make it on whatever topic you want. You can be exchanging opinions about something they read or questions they have about a topic. I'll put check boxes in each square on the grid. So students, write down someone's name and then they check a box for like where they live or their opinion on an issue or whatever you want, or even if you want your students to do more writing, they can write down, they can just write a sentence about what the person's opinion was that they talked with. And then every morning when students walk into class, I have some sort of activity for them to get started on at their tables before I really start teaching, because students are not necessarily prompt, all arriving at 9:30 when the class starts. But I have started, explicitly telling people, like, you don't have to just sit here by yourself and work by yourself. You should, in fact, talk with your classmates and help each other. I want you to be doing that. I am not the only person in this class with knowledge, right? We are all very intelligent, very kind, helpful people. And so I will do my best to help you as much as I can, but your classmates are also a wonderful resource. We can go on to the next slide. And of course, another way to build community is with food and drinks. My school started this hot beverage station last school year, and this is in the common area, so this is open to all the classes. And students are asked to contribute $1 basically just to cover the cost of the cup and the instant coffee. But then I decided to have a beverage station in my classroom as well. And so I tell my students, if you get it out in the common area, it's $1, but if you get it in here, it's free. So this is all stuff that I purchased mostly from my MobyMax classroom rewards, and then also got from my neighborhood Buy Nothing group, the mugs and so forth. So if you are using MobyMax, I highly recommend taking advantage of those classroom rewards when you log in and it says, motivate your students with slime or cookies or pizza. That's not actually what it is. It's actually an Amazon gift card that they will email to you. So sign up for that. You don't have to buy your students slime. You can use that Amazon gift card to purchase whatever you want for your classroom. And then now that this has kind of become part of our class culture, students have started bringing in their own food to share, bringing in breakfast and lunch and cookies and tea and just all sorts of wonderful things to share with each other. And I love that. And in the past, I might have been, a little annoyed, like, oh, why are we taking so much time to, carry in all these dishes and pass everything out, and we're losing time that we could be using to cover content. But I don't really see it that way anymore. I see it as, we are supporting each other, and this is making people more motivated to come back. We can go on to the next slide. Yeah. So the community building really ties into student retention, and I like to think also about that word persistence. It's not so much about the teacher or the program retaining students. We also want to think about how do we help our learners persist for themselves so that they can reach their goals. And I make this part of my class expectations. Like I think it's really important to be explicit with your expectations. It just cuts down on so much anxiety and helps everything function so much more smoothly. So I have this slide deck, which is linked in here, that you can feel free to copy and adjust as you need for your purposes. And I go through these slides every 2 weeks. My students who are coming back are probably sick of hearing me talk about them, but it's just really important to make sure that, like, I tell everyone, everybody is welcome here. It doesn't matter about your background. Education is for everybody. Like, that's the most important expectation. And also always come back. I appreciate the fact that my students just have really complicated lives. I used to teach in a program that was more of a truly one-room schoolhouse program in Minneapolis with more first language English speakers. And a lot of those learners were dealing with homelessness or substance use issues, if not for themselves, then with a family member or someone that they cared about. And then now that I'm teaching ESL classes, these are all students who have come to a new country. Often, this maybe wasn't their first choice, but they had to leave, and now they are here, and they are doing such amazing things. They are such amazing people. They deal with challenges that I will never have to deal with, and I'm just so appreciative that they make time for my class at all, even if they don't. Most of them don't have perfect attendance, or even what would be considered good attendance. Maybe if I would say most of my students probably attend maybe 2 or 3 days out of the 4 days that we have class each week. But I'm thrilled that they that they're here and that they keep coming back, whatever time they can give to it. And I tell my students, like, stuff happens in your life. You get sick, your kids get sick, your car doesn't work, whatever, like, I get it. But just always come back, even if you have to be gone for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever, like, I'm not going to be mad. Like, please come back. I will be happy to see you when you come back. And then I start every online class with this slide that just remember everyone is learning. You don't need to be worried or stressed. Trying to just normalize that, like, it's okay to be confused when you are learning a new language. So you can always raise your hand. You can always just say, Elizabeth, stop. Elizabeth, please slow down. I don't understand. That's all right. That's what we do. And I have a little basket on each table in my classroom, just with like some very, very basic school supplies, tissues, hand sanitizer. But also, some candy, and we have the coffee and the tea. And I presented a session at Summer Institute with C. Mwaleski, who does great work in some one-room schoolhouse settings in the southwest part of the state. And she had the brilliant idea to go to Walmart and bring fidget toys for all the tables in our session. And I love that. So I have added those to my little baskets on each table as well. And because, everybody likes to use the stress balls. I myself may have been playing with a puppet while Matt and Gina were talking. So like everyone is learning, but we are all, we're people first. Stuff happens in your life, but you can keep coming back. You can keep trying again. Let's go on to that last slide that I have. For communication, of course, my classes are all online or high flex. So there's always some sort of tech component, but I just love the tech tools. My learners primarily use their phones to communicate. That's true with my ESL students, and it was also true in my previous context with English speakers. And my personal preference for communication is email, but that's not really the way that most of my students communicate. So this year I have started using WhatsApp. I also occasionally use Google Voice for texting, and in the past I had used Remind. I really love the class WhatsApp groups. I am able to just send a reminder to everyone before the start of every class, and just with a little nudge, like, here's the link, we're starting class at 5:30. Something else that's really nice about WhatsApp is I can copy and paste screenshots right into the messages on my computer. With Google Voice, I always had to take the screenshot, save it to my desktop, and then upload it. It was just a pain. But here it's a really quick copy and paste. So if my students don't have the paper or they're on their phone and it's really hard to find a file, I can just put it right there in WhatsApp for everyone. I also do use Google Classroom for both my classes, just so everything that we do is right there. You can access it at any time. And then one last fun thing about the WhatsApp group is that I have a couple students who like to share TikTok videos or YouTube things or just like daily motivation or English phrases, and it's great. So it's one more way that we're building community. So that's about all I have. If we want to have a little time for questions and answers.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you so much, all of our panelists. Let me just go to the next slide here so you can, well, there's not much to see here. I'm actually just gonna go here. Let me invite the other panelists to come on camera. Gina and Matt, if you would just join us. We don't have time to do breakouts because we just had so much like stuff that everyone wanted to share, which is delightful. I'm so glad. I think what we'll do instead is just take a few questions from the group. Is that all right with our panelists? And just see what other things people may want to hear a little bit more about, or if there's anything else that you wanted to add. There was just so much wisdom out there. And I do want to open it up and just ask what questions people may have in the room and see if people want to ask anything to get clarified or elaborated upon around, in particular, around communication, student retention, or building community. Or maybe you have a great idea from your one-room schoolhouse out there in the world that you would like to share with the group. So I'm just looking at our participant list, and there's some heavy hitters out there. We know you know stuff, so don't be shy, share. Yeah, thank you, Astrid. What's working for you? Megan asks, what are the most effective ways you have worked with volunteers in the one-room schoolhouse? Megan, of course, working with volunteer training at Literacy Minnesota. Yeah, let me ask Matt and Gina and Elizabeth, what about volunteers in your settings? Who wants to take that first?
I can speak a little bit to how we use them and the different variety of volunteers that we have. We have some retired teachers in the area who have come back to us and are just looking to interact with students a little bit each day or each week. So we will use them often in kind of a one-on-one setting with students or in leading small groups. It gives the teachers a break. Sometimes to do some planning or to work with another group. It can kind of relieve a little burden in sometimes when there's larger classes, but also the partnerships that we've used with the colleges. A lot of those, I mentioned one where they were working individually with the college students and our students working together on creating a poem, but in some of the other partnerships, they have come in and really just sit down and work on whatever the student was working on and help them kind of work through that and really get to really get in the weeds with what the different students are working on. And we try and match up, students' strengths with what one of our students might be working on, and kind of if someone's real good at math, okay, well, this person's working on math today, and kind of divide up informally, but often on the fly, but kind of do it that way. Those college classes that we do have come in, we do have them go through all of the volunteer training prior to stepping into our class. So it's a little bit of a commitment on their end, but I think we end up with a little bit more robust experience out of because of that. So
Yeah, great, thank you. And Matt's, of course, referring to the 12-hour training through Literacy Minnesota. Thank you so much. Gina or Elizabeth?
I would agree with pretty much everything Matt said. The most effective way we've used them, or that I personally have, is like taking small groups, working individually. That takes some of the pressure off me. It helps the students. That seems to be the most. I have an excellent volunteer at the dairy, and she does all sorts of, like, she sends out the Remind app to everybody about class. She's watched children so that mothers could sit in the class and concentrate. She's great. she's above and beyond.
Oh, that's
That's
amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
Managing the learning environment, sometimes it's whatever's required, right? Thank you. Elizabeth, anything to add?
I guess in my setting, it's so nice when volunteers can help with kind of the onboarding with all of the tech stuff, like just making sure you have all the correct apps installed on your phone. Sometimes people don't know their Apple ID password, and so they can't necessarily download a new app on their iPhone. And so if I have someone else to troubleshoot that, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Just an extra person around to answer all those
Yeah.
questions when hands go up. That makes sense. Great. Thank you. I am aware of the time. We probably have time for maybe one more question. Anything else that's on your minds or something that the group would want to share? Looking at the chat box. Oh, Megan is sharing a WhatsApp article or maybe a blog post. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah, with all of the new and fabulous technologies and apps comes a learning curve, of course. So, well, I really appreciate everyone's input today. All of the I'll update or upload the slides and put those in the participant folder. And all the other, just to mention the other sessions today, the recordings from the first afternoon slot have already been uploaded. So if you missed something you wanted to see, you can check that out already, and the morning sessions as well. And then the flyer that you use to navigate to sessions today is the same flyer you'll use to navigate tomorrow. However, just be aware that the morning session is your registration link. You had to register for today and for tomorrow. So it's a different registration link for each day. So the one you use to get into the welcome today will not be the same one that you'll use to get into the welcome and the keynote speaker, Lizalina Iglesias, in the morning. So just watch your email for that push notification again, or you probably already got it. So, and then the flyer for the rest of the day. And I just want to thank our panelists. Thank you to Elizabeth and Gina and Matt for your time today, and for our tech hosts behind the scenes. Appreciate your help, everybody. I'll close the recording. Or no, Astrid will. We'll let her do it.